See, look at his barn. Look how nice that barn is. So,
Not that, just for casual friends.
yeah, would like to. I think we've reached the appointed hour.
Here we go.
Here we go. If I could call to order the December 6th meeting of the Design Review Board, and if you don't mind, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I would like to welcome, we have a new member tonight, Marty, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
And I'm Kathy Cook, and I'll be the chair of this meeting.
Bruce Smitherman.
And Tim Bryan.
And if we'll start with the approval of the November action minutes, or is there any changes to the November minutes?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that they be approved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's a unanimous approval. And if we could start with the demolition reviews. The first one we have is Vickery Crest at 12852 Hopewell Road, and that's Mr. Reese. And for those of us who don't know you, Mr. Reese, if you would give your name and address, please.
Scott Reese, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, out of Milton, Georgia. Brumlow Reese and Associates.
And this is part of a subdivision.
Yes, this is a phase 2 of a large subdivision that
Sorry.
That's okay.
somewhat fell victim to the economy. And it was originally permitted in Fulton County and was annexed in with the creation of the city of Milton. So there were 2 existing houses in this second phase that were primary residences of individual landowners, and this property's been bought up and is now being incorporated into phase 2 of Vickery Crest, and the developer needs to remove them to proceed to build his lots. And I think I enclosed pictures.
Yes. I don't see anything that would have a historic value or anything that would note that it would be on any historic register. Is that correct?
They are 1950, 1960 brick ranch, hip roof, what we all grew up in
Okay.
this area.
I grew up in a tent. What do you mean?
Are there any comments or concerns?
Absolutely not. There's no specimen tree problem with the demolition.
We did a tree survey per Mark Law, and you should have a copy that shows all trees 15-inch caliber and above.
And you'll have to work with the arborist with the tree save and the silt fence before we get
That's
started.
correct. And we have, we'll have to do the rodent letter and the hazardous materials.
Okay.
We've done the hazardous materials. I have not received the rodent letter yet, but we're familiar with all of that.
Is there asbestos in the sheetrock?
In the sheetrock and some kitchen tile flooring. Sorry.
Okay, is there a motion or
A motion to approve.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's
Thank you very
unanimous
much.
approval. Thank you. The next one on our list is 15210 Freemanville Road. If the applicant would come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tom Eldridge. Do you want my address in Atlanta area?
Address.
1530 Jones Road, Roswell, 30075.
Looks like that you have existing a house and another structure to be removed.
A house and a barn.
And there's a new home under construction on the property?
Yes, I'm doing this I'm a builder, and I'm doing this for a owner. He bought 5 acres, and this house was an existing home that's probably 100 years old. We're building a house behind it.
Yes, looks like a very nice lot with all the specimens.
It is, beautiful trees.
And the only concern we have about that is just to make sure you meet with the arborist, because of course, equipment has to be within that critical root zone, but
Right.
the arborist can take a look at that. And I don't see anything historic either about this particular structure.
I don't either.
Any questions or concerns? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'm going to make a motion to approve the item B, 15210 Freemanville Road.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's a unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And if it's okay with the board, I would like to move the final review to the end of the agenda. And we are going to add another item to that final review, but right now we have Bobby G's will move to the end of the agenda, as well as
Urgent care.
urgent care, family care. So if we could move to the courtesy reviews, we actually have two on our agenda. And the first one will be for 14495 Hopewell Road. And if the applicant would come forward.
Good evening.
Are you? And you are requesting to, you'll proceed to the Board of Appeals for the variance. What they're going to do is look at what your hardship variance is. The only thing that this board is going to look at is aesthetics. It's a design board, so we're only going to look at if the Board of Appeals approve it, what kind of conditions should be attached to it, just to let you know.
I've got to apologize. I have a cold in my ears and I can't hear. So Brad's going to tell me
Brad
what you
can-
said. Would that be
yeah.
all right?
That'll be fine.
Thank you. Actually, what we'd like to do is build the same home on the same foundation that's there. And
That's wonderful.
part of the house that burned was 160 years old, and we're going to restore it back to as close as we can get to what it looked like. But this is what it will look like now, and this is exactly what it looked like before the fire.
I think all of us would be glad to see it back.
I colored it.
Yourself? Very good
I
job.
stayed in the lines.
Yeah. Very good job.
I have some photos here if you'd like to see.
I think everybody's very
I mean
familiar
to
with
tell you
it.
guys,
And,
yeah,
yeah, it's
so appreciated in the community, everything that's going on, and everybody is hurt for what happened.
We didn't realize how much it meant to the community, the farm, until after that fire. It was incredible.
I pull over and let my kids look at the goats all the time.
It's a beautiful
Welcome
farm.
to the petting zoo over there.
So I don't have any concerns at all about this, and no conditions that should be attached to it. I think it would be a welcome to see it built back. Any?
My motion to approve.
Okay.
That's courtesy.
And
Second.
it's a courtesy review.
Courtesy,
We actually don't
okay.
need a motion, but
Okay.
we can just send our comments to the Board of Appeals, and we would recommend that they approve it. So the next process would be to go to the Board of Appeals. And you're actually finished with us.
Everybody,
I love it.
everybody eat Italian, built his house.
Exactly. Yeah. But thank you. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is V1120 Brayburn. That's 3136 Haybridge Lane. And is the applicant present? I don't see the applicant present because it's Michelle that she was here last month.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we might as well review it unless anybody has any concerns with it. I don't have any concerns or anything that should be attached to it because the houses haven't been built, like
Right.
you had mentioned.
That's right. Can we make it part of the stipulation that this gets built prior to the house being built? Because what happens
I
if
don't know
they
that if
build?
we can do that.
It's a courtesy review again.
Yeah, well, we could recommend
Make
that.
recommendations.
We
We can
can
recommend
certainly
that.
make a recommendation for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Because all I'd want to do is see the public knows what they're buying when they
Right.
buy the two houses.
And what the setback is. Okay. I don't have any other comments on that particular one. Angela, if you'll just let them know our recommendation. And then moving to the, we just reviewed yours, but I guess you can talk to staff about, that's okay.
That's right, you did good.
You did good.
You got bumped up.
No, okay. If you want to go ahead and, this is for the pool.
For the pool, so this is similar to, or is that exactly the same issue that we had, not we, but that Tom Sharp had last month. So with the interpretation that Milton has of the adjoining property line being the right-of-way of that property, it just confines the building of the location for the pool to that tiny little triangle
Sure.
that y'all have. So this is where, our parking lot is already in, that was approved, has been built. I brought,
Do you think that the pool, you think it will be constructed before the homes on each side are constructed?
so the home on lot 21 is constructed, it is our sales center and model. So we own it.
Okay.
So obviously whoever purchases that at the end of the neighborhood will know the pool is there. And I brought, the landscape buffer that has already been installed between the parking lot and that home. Which is there. We also own lot 44 that you see on this flag, across the street, diagonally across the street, there, under where it says McFarland. And then the corner lot directly across, in the corner of Hay Ridge and Hunt area at 39, we own that lot as well. So we aren't impacting anybody who isn't, you know, anybody who buys will know exactly what's
Right.
going on there.
I don't think I would have any comments to add to this. This will actually go to the Board of Appeals,
Yeah, on the agenda for the
but I don't have any additional comments to add. Does any of the other
Pretty
board
much did that
members?
last month, and
So I think you're okay with us. Our recommendation would be to approve as submitted. Thank you. We forgive you. Moving on to the final review, we'll actually have Bobby G., the patio curtains, if you would go first, at 12990 Highway 9. Is there an applicant present? Well, this one, it requires a lot of discussion, so my recommendation would be to defer until there's an applicant, because it's going to impact their business or decision. Is there a motion?
motion to defer.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Then that's a
Who's seconded?
unanimous deferral.
Who offered the second?
Me.
Morning. If we could move to the final item, which is maybe what the crowd is here for, yeah, that would be the urgent care, family care, and this was actually added to the agenda. If there's an applicant present, if you would, state your name and address for the record.
Brian Robertson, 4149 River Buca, Birmingham, Alabama.
And what is your request? If you would just go over the elevation that we have.
Yes. I'm Brian Robertson. I'm the owner and director of BDOT Architecture. I was the architect for American Family Care. I was looking to build a urgent care, family care facility it's on Route 9. It's roughly 4,600 square feet. For those who may not be familiar with American Family Care, they have a number of clinics in Alabama, roughly 28. And they recently began to move into the Nashville market and over into the Atlanta market and the Milton the elevation, it was really up until the end of last week that we were made aware of the overlay design guidelines. Thus, the reason why we had submitted previous drawings, which had siding on it, kind of the exterior of the building. And I've actually brought some existing photos of clinics that we've done. I think they probably do the project more justice than just a CAD elevation
Okay.
for everyone to take a look at.
If you-
The style of the building was really kind of new urbanist in feel. Here's the number. The first photo is of one that we've recently done and finished in Decatur, Alabama. The other one is one in Smyrna, Tennessee. It's a kind of a corner perspective. It shows the use of materials. The main material for the tower beam is actually 1-inch thick real stucco, cementitious stucco with a stone base. And because of it being because of majority of the rooms on the floor plan being exam rooms for patient privacy, that's one of the reasons I think there was an earlier comment about the number of windows in the building. We try to maximize the number of windows in the front lobby, in the break room, in the office area, in there at the tower. I think that the photographs kind of do a better job explaining about what's happening at the tower, with the steel awning above, and kind of the recessed side windows, really kind of creating just a tower, a sign, kind of entrance for the building. But along the sides and in the back, instead of one of the things that we were doing with the cedar shake, or it's a replication of cedar shake. I'm sure we're all familiar with a party shake system. Using that along with the trim, they are using two different colors along with the downspouts to break up kind of the side and rear elevations of the building.
If I could, Angela, is signage allowed above the roof line, the main roof line?
No.
So they would,
That would probably be okay. 'Cause you were talking about the roof line on that.
on the main
On that
structure.
particular structure, yeah.
So that may be something that you'll have to look at when you permit. When I was reviewing this, and looking at the design guidelines, it states that, the 75% has to be brick or rock on a vertical plane. And I look at this, interpret this as it's separate vertical plane when you look at the tower. And most of the tower is stucco that's presented. And I think that that's a business model because it really highlights the signage to have the tower out there with the stucco. But I think that we have to interpret, that as a separate vertical plane that has to meet the 75% requirement.
Yeah, one of the things I think we had resubmitted, I guess, with getting rid of the siding and putting in the brick around the building. So if you have the stone and the brick, the tower really takes up less than 20% of the total mass of the building itself. So the majority of the building, roughly, I guess 78 to 79% of the building would be stone, or stored in stone and brick around the parameter, full parameter, the total vertical surface of the building.
Now, I think, it would be nice to break it up with some stucco if the stucco was kept behind where the signage is, more like a frame, that you had the stone or the brick that framed the stucco area, which would add more stone to that tower feature.
I think, yeah, what we could do is we can raise the base up a little bit. The building code doesn't allow for, we could just be able to, one of the things that we kind of wrestle with there is, one, is, as the transition towards the tower, that's why we kind of dropped the stone down, was to really kind of bring forth or kind of highlight kind of the tower element, kind of the weight of the tower. It's kind of why the stone was brought down, at the tower, creating kind of a lower base, creating more of a mass there on the corner. And one of the reasons why we chose the stucco for the tower is that as the stucco actually wraps around, because it's a wood frame structure, so as the stucco wraps around and goes on top of the roof system, kind of back onto the building. The building code doesn't allow for brick or stone to actually wrap the building because of the weight on it. So that was one of the reasons why we had chosen the stucco to kind of, because of that element, the way that it moves back on top of the existing building. Now I think we could raise the stone up on the tower, and then as you can kind of see in the photographs, we kind of wrestle with the windows that are kind of punched openings inside there with that. But I think it would be possible. I mean,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Where you got your two lines right here on the sides, coming up all the way. See right here?
Yes.
To be pleased the rest of the board, would it be okay just to run it on this outside wall, because then it won't affect your structure on the inside wall where you're laying up against the roof, because it won't add weight. If you're on the front, it's not going to add weight. Doing what we talked about, picture framing it, where this would become stacked stone coming up through here like this.
On the outside.
On the outside, and wrap it just around the corner itself 2 feet approximately. And then you would have the center section, I mean, if the rest of the board would agree to it, the center section of it would be stucco, then you wouldn't be adding any weight to the interior portion of where you're attaching to the roof.
Okay. That's something we could look. I was wondering what was, I guess, what's the kind of the thought process, I guess, for the board, I guess, in those suggestions, just for myself and enlightenment.
To add more stone and brick to the front of that,
part of
because
what-
right now it's a large stucco
For us,
tower that's attached.
what I've seen is that on a lot of stucco structures that we see that age as time goes on, they tend to not age nearly as well as you would if you had a brick surface or a rock surface. And so if you minimize the surfaces that will age the fastest, I mean, the last thing the problem is this building looks great the day you build it, and it'll look good probably for 3, 4, 5 years. But the problem is going to be is what does it look like 20 years down the line when this company no longer owns this building and they've sold it to somebody else, and then the city's left with that we've got a structure that doesn't meet what we really want for the standard for the community.
And we also have to be careful about our interpretation of the design guidelines, because we don't want somebody to create a separate vertical plane that's separate from the building in order to just highlight signage or put a different material that sticks out, because it may look okay for one.
I appreciate the guidelines. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think more municipalities should have guidelines like this to guide and direct the development.
I think we can do one of two things. I mean, we can either defer it, ask him to make the changes and come back and let us look at it, or we could approve it subject to
Well, I think
drawing
you
or...
could, I mean, my opinion of it is, I mean, if you wanted the lower water table on the feature in the front, you could leave that there as long as you're willing to use some bricks to go up higher on that.
You're talking about the tower element?
On the tower itself, if you wanted to leave, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if the water table is raised as long as there's brick there, and raise the brick up above above that canopy level, and then on the sides, and if we're going to frame the portion that I guess we're considering allowing to stay stucco to cover urgent care, then you get to keep your distinguishing lower
It
water
wouldn't
table.
matter, it would be the stone or the brick.
He's talking about actually, where I've colored this in, of all of that being the stone or brick.
Oh, stone to the top.
Just
All the way to the top.
Framing it all the
Framing
way
it.
out. It's a catch-22 because we're considering the tower separate for the sake of the signage. So it's above a roof line. On the second hand, we're considering it part of the building for the sake of the percentage that has to be accepted.
What would we need to do to make it count at the site?
Perfect.
So not
Just
be
make it
separate?
perfect.
Yeah.
So that it can be counted against the total.
No, it will be counted. That's our interpretation, that it counts towards that.
I can see where those windows are going to be tough to deal with the brick or the stone. I mean, the way they're recessed.
And I think even regardless of this, just an architectural, just aesthetically, it was going to look better looking at that.
Okay. We can disagree.
Yeah.
I accept your opinion.
Well, that's kind of up to you. Would you rather agree to do what the board recommends, or would you rather resubmit?
Okay.
An alternate that we can review.
Right.
Do you want to look at?
I guess I had one of those suggestions, and then I'd like to answer the question. I was wondering, instead of where we had the stone and we added the brick above the stone, I guess that's why we had, kind of sent in the other elevations, was to get rid of the siding in order to add the brick above that to meet the 75% requirement. But if we needed to add the brick or stone at the tower, would it be possible, or would the committee see it that we could go and keep the siding on the side of the building above the stone, kind of like what's in the photographs, and then put the stone or brick at the tower?
I think you need to redesign it and, I mean, make those changes and resubmit it if those, so we can have something.
Actually, I
look at.
can probably give you an answer to that. I think the siding is only allowed as an accent, no more than 25% of the building. So I don't think that would work. That's why we asked you to change it for.
It's just not making sense. I apologize.
We can actually do.
Stucco, cedar siding, CMU, whatever, it's only, you can't use more than 25%.
Use the cultured stone.
That's what they're using here.
Then you could do it around the sides too.
Yeah, so it's not really the
It's not
total
an issue.
building.
Well,
Well,
that anyway.
There are two parts.
That would be an issue then.
Oh, wait, that would be different.
75% stone, and then
It's still a support. right?
accent,
It's not the issue.
25% of siding, replain, CMU, stucco, whatever.
But see, I think just wrapping this right here on the corners,
Absolutely.
come that way and that way right
Maybe
here.
I can make you a copy
And
of
even
it,
if
or
it's,
you can
you don't
copy
put it
out.
up here, even if it's just wrapping these two.
Pilasters in the corners.
Yeah.
Pilaster.
Right. You could have white accents on it, look good.
If- What we're gonna mark this up for you, and this is our comments. Are there additional comments on this building?
It's good.
And, you know, even if we approve it a certain way, if you're not happy with that particular design, you always have the option to come back and show us something else that you want to present.
The idea that I came up with is a minimal change to you in cost.
And we'll give you a copy of this.
I'd be excused just for a moment.
Sure.
I mean, I try to offer the least expensive solution to it. Because it's inexpensive and it doesn't create any weight and it doesn't create any moisture issues.
It's cultured stone.
Yeah. We're talking about cultured stone, right?
Pardon?
You're using cultured stone on
No,
all
it's
these.
real. I actually brought samples. I
Okay.
brought brick samples and it's real stone. It's a moss rock.
Okay.
That's on there.
Did you have something additional to add?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion or more discussion?
So with the changes, I guess with the changes that you were suggesting, we could take those and incorporate those into our design. We would not have to come back.
It would be your choice to either,
Okay.
if you had something different, you could submit that.
If you don't plan on coming back, you want to go ahead and show them the colors, since they need to.
Good job.
Since I have,
Yeah.
what's the best way for me?
They do these studios like this, it's
You can just pull them up, or I can pass them. Show yourself. Can we still do it?
I think, I mean, we can see the
We can
color.
see,
and
yeah.
You don't have to bring it
We
over
won't be
here.
any closer than that to the building when we
Throw
park.
it over here. Throw it to him.
This was the brick that
Looks very Milton.
we're, and then this is the cast stone cap that runs, but it would separate the stone on the base and the brick. This was the stucco. The one thing about, I understand your concern about the stucco, and that's one of the reasons why we chose stucco over an EIFS system, is because like which is like Private or Stowe makes those products, and the way that water, the way that the cells on those products, it does capture dirt and wears a lot faster than stucco. So that was one of the reasons why we did choose stucco and the longevity of the product for people either punching a hole in it or other type of things. So I just
Understand.
we're conscious of.
And it's good for an accent material. I think it's fine. And I like all the neutral colors.
I actually like the standing seam roof that you got on this building.
We've kept that on the tower. The tower that we designed. I brought a sample of that too if you needed it to see that.
Is it
It's colored, it's going
a
to be.
dark gray?
Yeah, the shingle is a dark gray brown, and then the roof it's just on the towers and galvanized.
Are you going to use 3-tab shingles on the shingles, or are you going to use architectural?
It's got
Architectural.
architectural.
Architectural? Okay. I didn't see that, sorry.
You might need to check the color on the metal.
Glad you brought up the roof.
It's the color.
Are they required to do a more muted color than the silver? We'll have to, we can condition that for staff to
Does the signage
check the color.
issues come up with somebody else?
Signage just goes to staff.
Okay.
We won't review signage.
All right.
Any other comments on the materials? Is there a motion? And we have to, in the motion, approve, we're looking at materials, changes to the building, and then he always
Did you
has
state
the
your
option.
motions exactly for me?
Did we make the
State the
motion?
what,
The
Angela?
motions, well, the motion and conditions, so I can record.
Sure.
Do you want me to state that to be built, subject to the corrections that we've made on 8.3.1, to include stone to go up the side of the of the tower at a minimum? What is the distance between your freeze break and the corner, do you know?
I'd have to look through the drawing. I don't know.
It's about 2 feet, isn't it?
Where the stucco's out in front.
You know, where you can see where you've got
Where the tower comes
your
out.
freeze breaks out right here on the tower? Isn't that about 2 feet?
That's correct.
What I would make a motion to do is to see that we take our stone to the freeze break. You have your freeze break right there. And go on each side of it, wrap it at the equal distance on both sides of the corner,
Was that a motion to approve?
Yes.
Subject
subject to this.
to those conditions?
This is my first motion, guys, so I may not do it exactly.
We can do this, we can do the materials separately on a separate motion. Is there a second to this?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then if we could get a motion regarding the materials and a note about subject to staff final approval on the colors, because I'll have to check the colors for the roof.
And you're going to come back with a change on your plan showing the stone on the corners?
Is it possible for me to email that back or just?
I would think so.
Yeah, the email's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, as long as that gets, we'd see that that's going to be done.
Yes.
Can I get a motion for the materials?
Hate to say bring up one other thing is this side over here does not have a sign, or has it got 4 signs on 3 sides?
Two.
2 signs?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, then what I want to make sure that this side right here is going to have the same face.
Correct.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay.
Angela, are they allowed 2 wall signs? Isn't it 1 road frontage? They have 2 road,
You're allowed to see it.
they have 2.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do is get continuity the way it looks on both
understand.
sides.
I agree. I'll
Okay.
do that as well.
Good.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the materials list as submitted on this plan with the changes we've noted to structure, and that the colors be further reviewed by staff.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's a unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you. We look forward to the new building. And that concludes our meeting for the evening.
Do we need to?
Oh, wait a minute. We do.
Here, what?
Bobby G's.
Get the marker.
Here's the one I marked up.
I think
Only thing
that,
is we don't have
is
this
the
side.
applicant here for
We need to
Bobby
show that
G's?
it goes up like this.
If you want to come forward, I'm sorry,
It's gotta
I
show
almost
where it
forgot
does the
about
same
you.
matching over here.
If the board doesn't mind, we can listen to Bobby G's. We had deferred it,
That's fine.
and we have
Beer
a
and hot dogs
copy.
to follow?
Pardon me?
So beer and hot dogs to follow?
Chicago dogs to follow, he said. What is, if you would state your name and address?
Robert Gregg, 12990 Highway 9. Norton, Georgia, 000.
And we have looked at the submittal and discussed it, actually. And we don't have temporary materials within our design guidelines for Highway 9. So in looking at this, we did find that there was an approval, though, for a Blind Dog on Crabapple Road, as well as another restaurant on Crabapple Road. So looking at that, I think the only thing that we could approve is subject to staff making sure that this meets the same criteria as the Blind Dog.
Hey, actually, I mean, I've been by the Blind Dog, and what they have is nice, you know, but I think this will be nicer. It's
Well-
a pretty standard implementation. This is a
You can pass that. If you would come just to the end.
This is a sample of the burgundy material, matches the current awning, or, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Well, in saying that, it should be, comparable or better is fine too with looking at the Blind Dog. But we don't have any temporary material guidelines within our design guidelines, so in a way, we're pushing this to staff, but that's only because they've approved the other location.
Okay, I understand Broussard was doing something too, but I haven't talked to them. Really, they are, they're going to be on a tracking, so we're going to be able to open them up, which we will most of the time. But in the wintertime, when I need that extra seating, which I do quite a bit, I need to be able to house people out there. And, at this time of year, I just can't do it. So
Sure.
This was an economic issue with us, so we now have the funds to be able to proceed if we can get approval. And this picture, pretty much conceptually what they are. I mean, pretty standard. You see them all over the place. So
The only comment I would make to the board members that if it is approved, that it's subject to meeting the same requirements as a Blind Dog, or better, meet or exceed what was installed at the Blind Dog.
Okay, I wanted to just clarify now, what he showed in that picture is not what the Blind Dog has.
Do you have a picture of what the
It's actually nicer.
Blind Dog has?
No, this is nicer.
The Blind
What he's
Dog
proposing
has
is nicer.
a wood frame system, and the plastic panels are in frames. They don't roll up.
What is this track right here? This metal right here, what is that? You don't
These
see
these
that?
up like the bifold door,
I
right?
don't know what that one.
actually, what I'm going
see
to
it
do
here.
is
It would be
there's gonna
installed
really
otherwise.
1, 2, 3, probably
I mean,
4
you'd think it would be
panels.
covering that up.
They're gonna, there's a hook mechanism that fits into a seat
Now they-
clamp that, allows them to slide them, and
Okay.
then when we close them up,
Gotcha.
they'll be able to zipper them up.
Okay.
Most of the time, they'll probably be pushed off to the sides, and then, just, wrapped around the.
Right.
So they're curtains and not roll-ups.
They're in the frame.
Right.
That's exactly what they
Yeah, I
are,
think
and,
so.
when it's cold, we'll be able to close them up, zipper them up, turn on the heaters, and
You know, I-
allow people to sit out there comfortably.
They
Well,
work
I've been to
this
your
way as
restaurant when I
opposed to
couldn't get in.
rolling up.
This is what we talked about.
Well-
Much
Having a
easier
frame
for us to
section.
do. I
think
mean,
that's what they
that's
gotta do.
10 feet up there.
Oh, yeah.
And I have, gals that work the front of the office, front of the house, and they're not gonna be able to roll those things up and Velcro them up. So what I thought, and what I worked with the company, was that we would put them on some kind of a tracking, and I'll have a metal rod that you can just.
Do they roll up as they close?
No, that's just.
It actually
it's
folds like a
curtains.
bifold.
Yeah.
It seems like I kind of think like I have a hard time doing it.
Yeah,
But it doesn't
I think it's
2-foot.
better than
It does in
the
2-foot
roll.
sections. I
Does
see
it
what you're
2-foot
saying.
sections.
I understand.
Well, it's certainly gonna be easier to open them and to close them than it is to, hey, get the ladder, get up there.
No, I
get one.
totally
I need
agree.
2 people, this way I can do it with 1 person.
Are there any comments?
I don't have a problem. I mean, as far as, like you said, maybe it needs to be deferred, but I don't know. I think it's a
Well,
problem.
I mean, if it's approved, it just needs to be, oh, that's the,
What is, what is this shiny metal that's, when the curtains are up, that you see that more or less frames it?
Okay, heavy duty visqueen plastic, see-through.
No, not the, this portion, this,
Oh, that's just there, that's just,
because you don't,
I
This is
just
the old
grabbed
one.
this is a unit that they've done before,
okay.
but this isn't, we don't have that, metal piece on there.
Yeah, I don't see it on your existing,
No, because it's not gonna be there, but I couldn't, but I needed I mean,
You're just
I
as
did something
mature.
that was conceptually close to what I'm gonna do.
Gotcha.
That's it, but there won't be that aluminum piece. Everything that we do is in black.
So they don't have that front.
But there is
Yeah.
aluminum
See, they attached it.
underneath. There's gonna be a tracking
I
that
don't
will
know.
attach underneath here. Actually, in the
No,
front
no,
here,
I might not.
there's a piece of
I
angle
bet.
iron.
I
It's
say
aluminum
we should
angle
approve
iron.
it subject to that he builds it.
We'll attach to it. They were gonna be on the inside. Makes sense?
Sure,
So when you
absolutely.
close them, what you'll see is, the 4 posts with these panels. So I'll have
Just to
1,
me, this
2,
looks better
3, 4
And all the
windows.
chairs sitting out there empty all the time.
I mean, it's a pretty typical thing.
It's a very small area compared to blind dog.
I think it looks nice, but you know what I think about the blind dog, how that is, I'm not sure that's exactly what they ended up with.
I don't think it is either.
Because they came in here and we wrestled with them, and then he just kind of went and did,
He dropped plastic curtains.
yeah.
Are there any comments about Bobby G's submittal with the burgundy? These
That's
are-
the color of the awning and also the awnings out in front of the building.
This is a
We
final.
matched them.
It's only 14 feet, isn't it, that's on the front face that faces 9? 12
Oh,
feet.
you mean this little piece?
The patio's at 1310
It's
or
11 foot.
It says
11 foot
pretty
9
far back.
inches.
you can't see it. I actually drove by it today, and unless you're really strained, you cannot see that part from the road. Now they built, because this now faces, the long part of it faces the new tire store that's
Yeah,
next to
and
it.
we're gonna lose more and more visibility as they build more and more out
Right.
parcels there. I mean, today we enjoy good visibility. Tomorrow, there's probably gonna be a Taco Bell or a bank or something there.
Are you thinking the old blind dog if it's on the street frontage? But it's sitting
Bank
back?
could be better than another
See, I think this-
restaurant.
I don't see, to me, this is not,
The
this
more the
is not
merrier.
Highway 9 frontage.
Yeah,
Brings
that's why
everybody,
I'm-
yeah, that's
I'm-
right. You never find one
I'm-
furniture store, do you?
So I think we should
Nobody
be,
comes
I think we
every
should
day, you
approve
know,
it
so-
based on that
Oh.
it's not Highway 9, that it's not Highway 9 frontage.
Well, if anybody would like to make a motion,
This is for a final.
this is
Madam
final.
I make a
Chairman, I'll
motion
make-
to approve
I
the
second the
request
motion.
from Bobby G's. Yeah, that was quick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So at this point, what is the process?
Angela, will he need a building permit for that? Or no?
I submitted the building permit to Nika.
Okay.
I guess that's his
You would go,
process.
she would just be waiting for the approval from Angela, and you would be able to
Which
pick
Angela
that
was
up.
probably waiting for the approval from you guys. So just give me some guidance as to what I need to do and what do we think the timeframe is that I'm talking about? And could I go ahead and have the manufacturer begin?
I think you're going to have to ask those questions to staff. They're the ones that are going to issue the permit, and we don't have that information as to what their schedule is or
Okay, so if
timeline.
you were me and tomorrow morning came around, well, tell me what I need to do.
I would call the city of Milton and,
Angela? Okay. Very good, thank you.
She'll help
Thank you,
you,
and
she'll
good
help
luck with
your
your
approval
business.
through the system, and it should not.
Should move pretty quickly.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that if we get a motion to adjourn,
I didn't have one question for you.
Angela,
Quick. Looking forward, we have to get the schedule approved by the city council, and looking forward, your July meeting is the 3rd. And I don't know what the city's, which day they're gonna give us off, but do we wanna think about changing that? or-
Yes.
Absolutely.
yes, we need a quorum. Yeah.
We'll be in baseball heaven by then. So. Somewhere.
Next Tuesday.
So January was a problem, now July is a problem.
When's the
So
meeting,
first
Jan?
Tuesday is the 10th. You wanna shoot for the 10th, the second Tuesday?
That'd be
Sounds
fine.
good.
July the 10th? It's my birthday. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm sure they're going to have refreshments and cake for you.
It's exactly where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be here.
29 again.
Is that all?
That's it for me.
Motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned.